Hello, good evening everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I had to wrench the phone off my son who was on some massive great social call with all of his friends doing God knows what on some platform I've never even heard of. Anyway, good evening everyone. Catherine, thank you for joining me this evening. Welcome to the Deep and Meaningful with Katie Brendel, a little half-hour live feed on a Sunday night where we shall talk about the deep and the meaningful and the meaning of life and anything that we wish to discuss. There's Teresa. Hello, my darling. So lovely to see you. Thank you for joining. So, really this evening, what I wanted to talk to you all about was my journey into Chinese medicine, because people find it quite interesting and I would like to hope that it could offer some guidance for you, if that's possible, if there's anything that I can do. I love these Sunday night chats, Catherine, too. I'm so sorry. Teresa, hello, my darling. I'm so sorry. And Teresa, you ran out of Creo balls. I'm devastated. We obviously did such a good job selling them. They've all disappeared. I really wanted one. Never mind, I'll have to find something else. So tonight is about my journey into Chinese medicine, and I thought perhaps if anyone's sitting there at home right now wondering, as we're coming out, maybe coming out of lockdown, are we? I was hoping to go away this summer. I don't think that's going to happen, is it? Anyone got any insight on that? So basically the topic of tonight is how Chinese medicine saved me and inspired me to become a practitioner. And thank you about my hair. This is slightly windswept hair. I've been on a really long walk with the kids, and then I've had 2 glasses of red wine at lunchtime with my dad. And I fell asleep on the sofa, which I'm afraid is why I'm a little bit late. So here we all are together. So there are a few questions tonight. I think the thing is, before we go into the questions, was that I wanted to just say to people that, there's nothing special. There's nothing special, la 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 la. No, there is nothing special about there's nothing particular. No, don't speak too soon about coming out of lockdown. I know, I've got a bit of a feeling about that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We've got each other and that's what matters. I think what's relevant about my story is that there's nothing that amazing about my story. I think that's what makes it interesting, because there's nothing that brilliant about me until I start talking about Chinese medicine. When I get talking about Chinese medicine, I think some sort of energy, some like energy poker goes up my arse. Then I start, then I kind of, then I'm, this girl is on fire. Then it all gets terribly interesting. But until that point, I was thinking about it earlier this afternoon and I was like, do you know what? There is literally nothing exceptional about my story at all, other than I just love my subject. I just love it. It's so interesting. And that really kind of is the overriding, I'll just look at the questions here. That's the kind of the overriding comment that I wanted to speak. Okay, you're amazing and special because they're so inspiring. Thank you very much. And you know what? The only reason I'm inspiring, is because, what's this? Lying in the bath, feeling dreadful after your COVID jab. Sally, I had the COVID jab and I know I felt it awful. Is my dog next to me? He's run off with my slipper. I found the COVID jab horrendous. I have to say I had it and I'm glad I did. I'm not getting involved in the politics of whether you should or shouldn't. I did. I have elderly relatives living at my house and it's my responsibility to look after them. I did have the COVID jab. And I really gua sha'd, like my chest and under my chest, under here. I found that really, really, really helped me a lot. In fact, I did video it to put up there, but in the end, my team said that I couldn't put it up, which I think is a bit of a shame because I really wanted to, because I think it's useful. So thank you, Kelly. Never say I'm not that special. But okay, Catherine, could you make a note that people would like information on the jab? I did film everything, when I was going through it, and I did show people that gua showing around this area particularly I found really, really helpful, So I think I was thinking about it earlier. I had a little siesta after lunch actually, because I had about an hour to myself, so I had a little lie down, had a little think. And I was thinking about my life, and I was just thinking, do you know what? This is what's interesting about my life, is that there was nothing that interesting about it. It was just me. I was born into, I was fairly middle class. I had a nice education, but I was very dyslexic. I was bullied at school. I wasn't like Miss Popular. I wasn't like cool. I didn't marry an actor, or I wasn't like famous or anything like that. There was nothing. There was nothing. That's not my story. My story was I wanted to I wanted to sing because it was all I could do. And I didn't know that you could be a healer. Like, that wasn't on my career path. When I had career training at school, they were trying to get me to be an accountant, which I think is hilarious because I'd be absolutely nothing worse. And I think that's the thing, is that what's changed in the course of my lifetime is that the, yes, they call it finding your purpose, and that's what makes it special. And that is absolutely true. And my purpose came from nowhere amazing, okay? It came out of pain and it came out of suffering. And I think that is what makes it interesting, okay? It wasn't because I had a Chinese grandma and she taught me all these amazing recipes. It wasn't because I grew up in Hong Kong, because I didn't. I grew up in North London. I grew up, there's just literally all, I know, me and oh, Lucinda's on, I know, me and accountant, I know, it's absolutely hilarious. But I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that we didn't know. Like, we didn't know you could be a healer. We didn't know healing was a thing, you know. We didn't even know we needed to particularly look after our bodies. And yet, here we are, okay? And that was it. I had this crash. I was then in a world of pain. I then had no idea what I was going to do. And the thing is, I don't want to summarise the story too much to kind of make out that had I not have had this car accident, I would have been straight off to Covent Garden. The truth is, I don't actually think I was good enough to be a singer, but I think at the age that I was at, that didn't really cross my mind that wasn't going to be the case. I think I was on a bit of an illusion transition, if I'm honest with you. And I think the crash was well, I know the accident was a good thing. And as Louise has just said, finding your purpose is key to life, okay? And it is. And that's why I like that Soul Architects book I've been talking about, okay? I think it's a really useful thing because I can tell you that I had a calling. And that I can tell you is true. I definitely had a calling. I never fitted in, ever, in any shape or form. I didn't fit into my family. I didn't fit into my school. I didn't fit into my peer group. And I assumed it was because I liked opera that I didn't fit in, because no one liked opera. I mean, who likes opera when they're like 8 years old? I mean, I did. But actually, what I know I liked about it was it's sound therapy I liked. The reason I like opera is because it's like the highest form of sound therapy, not the actual kind of like opera for opera's sake. I'm not like an opera geek, okay? Sorry, I'm gasping for a glass of water. Just give me 2 secs, guys, because I've got water here. But I don't think it's very gamely for me to drink it out of a bottle when I'm on camera. Just hang on 2 seconds. Let me just luckily I've got a glass up here, which is rather handy. Right. And so I think that's the case, is that the truth is that the opera was literally... I know, I love opera too. I love listening to it. But I'm not... You know, I was never going to be good enough. I never ever was. And the reality is that the bit that started to get terribly interesting in my life was when I discovered Chinese medicine. It was that day. It was that day, okay? It was literally, you're still looking for a purpose. Don't worry about it. Read the archetypes. It's amazing. I love Puccini too. Who wants to fit in? The best people don't fit in. Exactly. Well, I didn't fit in at all. I was bullied at school really badly. I hated school. Do you know what? I have to be honest with you guys, is that basically I hated my life, to be honest, until, I mean, it's all right, but I wasn't living my life until I was 28. And when I got to the age of 28 and I was walking up the Edgware High Street with these shopping bags with my mother and then had this 10-minute gua sha massage that changed my life forever, because that's the story. I had this light bulb moment there and then. That was the moment that my life changed forever. And if I could offer you the first piece of advice from all of this, is that you've heard, honestly, I wouldn't, you're very, very sweet, pretty. I honestly wouldn't. But do you prefer tap water or filtered? I'm afraid this water is very highly filtered. It's in these bottles here, which I've got, I've got this really amazing water system by Nikken, which I love. And it's literally a filter. And then it's got this other thing that I put it through, which is this magnetizing thing that whips it for 9 minutes, okay? So the thing is, guys, look, everything about me is I am a healer. All right, I am, hi, my name's Katie Brindle and I am a healer. And I've been in disguise for many years, like many other healers out there. There are many healers. I'm sure many of you are too. And the thing is, if you believe in past lives, we've been silenced, we've been burned, we've been drowned, we've been buried face down. We had to find our way back up to the light, okay? And it wasn't easy. So most of us, talking of healers, up pops Katie, the Skin Whisperer. talking of witches, as if by magic they're all in the house. I've got Teresa Torme is here, and Katie is here, and Lucinda's here, and you're all witches, the lot of you. So say again out loud. My name's Katie Brindle, and I'm a healer, and my best friend is Katie Blake, and she's a healer too. You guess you were busy raising children, that's okay. Listen, guys, I'm 48, and the Chinese medicine says that by about 48, 49, okay, it's called the second spring. So if I'm talking to any of you, if any of you are sat there thinking, I have literally no idea what I'm supposed to be doing in my life, I have no idea why I'm here, I am so, I love you too, Katie, I'm so miserable about everything, then do you know what? Read the Soul Archetypes book and think about being a healer, okay? Healers are disguised, okay? Katie Blake is disguised as a beauty therapist. I was disguised as a massage therapist, and then I'm still disguised. I'm disguised as a Chinese doctor right now. The truth is, we are a healer, okay? And that's what we are, and that's what we do. And you know what? It is so entrenched in my body that if I'm not healing, and everyone says to me, God, you work really hard, because that's the other piece of advice to give you, is that the first thing was to have a think and see if you think you might be a healer, okay? Because I didn't know it was a thing. And I am, and I love it. And you know what? There is nothing I love more than making people feel better. That is my favourite thing in the world. And when you guys send us in messages and go, you've changed my life, I can't believe it, I used to have A, B and C, and now I feel X, Y and Z, and my life's turned around and all the rest of it. This is the stuff that makes us so happy. And that you can normally tell a healer because they like to give it away for nothing, which is what we like to do. Janju, I'm sure you're a healer. It is passed down. But it isn't always passed down, can I just say? Not always, because healers have been so decimated as a group of people that it wasn't even there to be passed down. That's the point. And that now takes me to the one of the many questions is, right, I will get through all these questions, which is kind of, why do I love Chinese medicine so much? Okay, why are you, this kind of blonde, gobby Western woman, like so fascinated by this Eastern sort of doctrine? Why are you not Chinese? Are you culturally appropriate, even considering liking it? And the truth is, okay, is that, what's this? It won't happen now. Menopause is not, what's not going to happen now? What's this? What's happening now? You're not happening anything now. If anyone's sitting there thinking that they're about to not do anything because they're about to have the menopause and their life is over, forget it. Don't talk like that. That's the liver talking in despondency. That is simply not true. Catherine, grab that woman and get her into hand. Please grab that lady. Please, nobody feel desperate. The menopause is the second spring, ladies, and it means when that energy stops producing children and all the creative energy that goes into raising them, then you get to roughly sort of 48, 50. Okay, you can then start thinking about yourself. And the truth is that Chinese medicine, the reason I just loved it, thank you, Catherine, you get these ladies in hand, Catherine. The reason I loved it so much is it's intact. It's intact. It's amazing. It's so interesting. And you know what? I can honestly tell you, it's the only thing that really interests me. Like, nothing else interests me. If I'm not studying or talking about or doing something with Chinese medicine, then I can honestly tell you I'm really bored. And that's how I feel. I can't think about anything else. I can't do anything else. I'm not interested in anything else. Okay, this is so fascinating. What I love about Chinese medicine is it gives you everything you want to know about being a human being, about your place in the cosmos. All of these questions I had when I was a child, and I remember asking my granddad about, I don't know, about the meaning of life and about God and religion and the Bible, and I mean, sort of raised sort of basically Christian, and it didn't make any sense. I'm not saying it might not make sense to other people, because hopefully it does, but to me, none of it made any sense at all. And I was just sort of sat there, okay, and it just meant everything was meaningless until I discovered this, okay. And every single time I have any kind of... if anybody needs grabbing by Catherine, please put your name up right now. Catherine, grab all these poor ladies who need help. Catherine will help you, okay? Catherine's amazing. Catherine, literally, I've never known anyone know as much, okay? Catherine's fantastic. So, anybody that needs help, please put your name up right now, or message Catherine, Catherine_Team KB, okay? Because she will help you find your calling, okay? Because we are going to help you. If there is anything about my life that can help you in any shape or form, I would be honoured to do it. And all I can say to you is that when I discovered this amazing interest, this light bulb went on in my life, this amazing light bulb, and it was just so interesting, and nothing else matters to me. Just nothing else makes any sense. It's just only this makes sense because it's there. And whatever question it is that you want to understand, whether it's about your biology or your emotions or your spirit or the meaning of life or the world or the meaning of multiple lives or reincarnation or why. I mean, basically, it's the answer to the question why, and that's what I love about it. And I was always the person that asked why. Okay, when I was at school, I never understood anything. I mean, literally, I couldn't tell the time, I couldn't spell, I couldn't read the clock, I couldn't do anything. I mean, seriously, like junior school was a nightmare for me, okay? There's a lot of people needing grabbing, Catherine. Just grab them, grab them, grab them. Oh. Katie, can you suggest past life therapist? Yes, there's an amazing past life lady I speak to. Catherine, if anyone wants to know about the past life, there's a lady called Ruth. And I can't remember her full name. I'm really sorry, that's really rubbish. But Catherine, if anyone wants to know about past life, like chart reading. Now, I read charts, but I cannot read past lives. Okay, I have an inkling, but I can't, like, when I look at charts going forwards, I can tell you for a fact, okay? I can literally tell you, I can see it like it's literally happening right now, like I can see this phone. Well, looking in the past, I can feel it and sense it, but I'm not 100% accurate. Now, there's this woman called Ruth who really, really reads past lives, and she's amazing, okay? And she is fantastic. So if you're interested in it, it's about £200, but, you know, she's very niche and she's very good. So, Catherine, I'm really sorry, I can't remember her name. It's Ruth someone or other, and the person that would know is Jo, but she's amazing. Anyway, so the thing that I love about Chinese medicine is that no matter what the questions are, I can answer them and it makes sense, okay? And it makes sense to me in the most amazing, okay? In the most amazing way. And that's why I love it. And I think the answer is I never ever stop reading, I never stop learning, I never stop looking at these ancient techniques, this ancient wisdom. And the truth is, Chinese medicine is not the only ancient wisdom, guys, okay? It's not. There are others, okay? But the thing is that, what's this? My husband's grandfather was the Chinese doctor in his village, and he lived to his 90s, was lucky to meet him a few times. Wow, that's amazing, amazing, amazing. And the thing is that there's other ancient medicines. There's Chinese is not the only one, okay? There was ancient, what's this one? Catherine, can you keep a note of that? What's this? Past lives. Check out the Irish lady, Marion Jacuzzi. Catherine, can you keep a note of that, please? We'll put her up as well. If anyone's got anyone at all that they want to recommend that they think are good for anything, you know, this is the platform to put it on, okay? Because, you know, my specialisation is Chinese medicine because, in my opinion, that was the one that had everything as intact as possible, because it only started to change about 100 years ago. Until about then, it was still intact. Whereas our natural medicines were decimated in about the 15th, 16th century. And then by the time we've got to the 20th century, they just didn't exist. It was just old wives' tales. And because of colonial powers, we basically destroyed everyone else's in the process. So there is other medicine. Of course there is. And there's other things. And hopefully these things are now coming out to the fore. I mean, I'm reading a lot about Kabbalah at the moment, for example. There's other things that I'm researching and reading. And I'm interested in all of it. But the reason I love Chinese medicine so much is, to me, once I've got my head around the basic explanations that felt a little bit alien to start with, it didn't matter. Okay, there we go. Traditional, wow, there we go. You dipped into traditional Vedinic Indian philosophy, found it to be very helpful. Sarah, can you send us any books if you're interested in any of that, because we'd love to share that. So that was why I love Chinese medicine, okay, because it gave me this kind of intact place to kind of dive my intellect into and come alive. And it did. And it gave me my life. I mean, it really did. I was basically kind of dead until I was 28 and just kind of lost in the wilderness. And then I discovered it. And if I can give you any encouragement at all at this time, just if you're dissatisfied with your life, do not take just because you've always done it to be the reason why you must always do it going forwards. We live now in a very aquatic age. We need to be constantly looking to evolve and change and go with the flow as to what's going on. Things are changing much more quickly than they used to. We used to live in this Piscean age of structures where basically these structures would exist. You're 28 and totally lost. Okay, Jacqueline, have a look at the Soul Archetype book. Okay, I think that would really help you. And I think one of the key things is that as a caregiver, which I guess is what I am, the one thing that I would say about that is that it's the only thing I do that makes me feel alive when I do it. Everything else, I just kind of go into this kind of stasis. I'm a bit like a horse. If you've ever gone, I take my kids horse riding, and you just these stable horses, you just take them. They're like, la, 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 they're just bored. They're bored, and I'm thinking that's what I feel like in life when I'm kind of doing just kind of other stuff. My eyes die down, and I just kind of turn into just kind of like. And it's not that I don't love doing other things as well, because I do, but nothing shines the way that understanding health and explaining that to people makes sense. And I would suggest to you that no matter what your soul archetype is that go for what makes you feel the most alive, because that's what it does. That's what shines through, okay? And if you don't implement change, nothing will change. Exactly, Louise, thank you. It's a really, really good. There we go. Catherine, you bloomed during your menopause. Exactly, it is. It's the second swim. Well, Catherine, look at you now. You're on fire, girl. Poor Catherine. And you get up every day and love your job. I get up every day and love my job. But let me tell you guys, I don't love every aspect of my job. Okay, I don't wake up every morning and like jump out of bed and go, yippee! In fact, there's quite a lot about my job at the moment, which I don't actually find very satisfying at all, because it's all about running the business. And I'm constantly saying to the team, it's like, I don't actually want to run the business. Don't actually enjoy the business side of what I do, but I have to do the business because I can't do what I do if I didn't have the business behind it. Okay, Catherine, if you could just recommend the soul archetypes there for Lorraine so she knows. There we go. Catherine gets up every day and she loves her job. Well, there we go. Catherine works for Hey You. You all have to come and work for Hey You. In fact, Catherine, I think you should start collecting some CVs from people so we can start helping people. I've got no idea what we'll get you all to do, but you must be able to do something. There must be something we can all do together. Anyway, so I'm really thirsty. One of the other questions was a book. Can I recommend an early book that I read? Now, if Lucinda's still here, she'll laugh at this because I was actually on holiday with her when I was reading this book. And this book was called Between Heaven and Earth. And it's a great book. Okay. It was a really amazing book, and it's all about the 5 elements, and it's all about the kind of personalities that align themselves to each of the elements and the health issues that people tend to get as they work with those elements, okay? And I thought that book was amazing, and it's a really, really good read, okay? So I would definitely recommend that as the first book into Chinese medicine if you've not already read mine. And the other thing is there is a reading list at the back of my book. And the good news is my book is back in print. It's back. It's wending its way over from the publishers right now. So it's going to be available as of the 1st of April. And at the back of my book is a bibliography. And at the back of that is a whole reading list as well. So there's huge numbers of book there. But Heaven and Earth, I think, is a really, really good one to start. Okay, so that was that one. Now, what else did you want? Where did I study? I studied actually, I studied lots of places. The first place I studied was I studied Western massage was the first thing I did. What I did when I started was I just thought quite commercially about it because I couldn't afford, I didn't have like my dad going, here's some money, darling. And I didn't have a husband going, here, I'll support you, darling. I was on my own, okay? I didn't have a boyfriend. I was alone. My boyfriend had... Well, the truth is my boyfriend had been unfaithful to me. It's really sad. He'd had an affair and we broke up. And then literally he met somebody like a week later after we broke up. And he got engaged to her and then they got married, which is really lovely for them, but really upsetting for me at the time. So I was a bit lonely and a bit sad. But then I discovered this instead. So actually I didn't have much of a life at the time because I was kind of grieving the fact that I had quite a lot of personal pain going on at the time. I had this shoulder pain, I had this boyfriend who'd been a bit of a shit, and he'd been lucky. And it was like, oh, great, I know, it's really sad. But it's not sad, it's okay, because it teaches you compassion, and it's nice for him. We were wrong for each other anyway. My life was a big illusion at that time. He was not the right guy, I was not the right girl. No, it's okay, Catherine. I've done things in my life I'm not proud of as well. So you know what? Yeah, he missed out on all of this. I don't think he thinks that. He's quite happy. He walked off into the sunset. But what was quite sad at the time was that my life felt like I had just basically just annihilated onto the floor, and I was just really upset. And he just literally met this girl like literally a week later, and they literally went off and got married, and I think they were married about a year later. And it was really sad at the time because it just sort of felt a bit hard. It all just felt a bit mean, and I thought, God, I'm a really nice person. Why is all this going on in my life? And then I lost my job, and then my granddad died, who I was really close to, and I had to move out of my flat, which I couldn't afford to live in. And it was like, God, like everything just like crashed. It was all awful. But the good thing about all of that was that I had nothing. And so actually, do you know what, guys, is that I had literally nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose. Nothing at all. Not even my dignity. I was in so much pain. I had nothing to lose. And therefore, I had plenty of time to study. So actually what happens is, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Or in my case, the Lord taketh away and the Lord giveth. So it was a kick in the teeth at the time, but all for a reason. Exactly. And it's totally okay. Because it has taught me humility, humanity. It's taught me to follow opportunities when they arise. And it's also taught me the value of hard work, because none of this stuff just kind of dumped on me. It wasn't like I had a Chinese grandma and I just kind of learnt this stuff and then there was a gap in the market and then here I am. It wasn't like that. Okay, it's not like that. And that's the idea of this talk tonight. It's an inspirational talk, guys, okay? It happened because it needed to happen. Thank you, Carmen, it did. And the point was that I was ready to work, okay? I was ready to dedicate myself to this thing that I discovered, and I had no money and I had no life at the time. So great, so I could rebuild myself from scratch, and that's a good thing. So I just studied Western massage. I didn't go, it wasn't like I then sort of went off to Shanghai and had some really interesting story to tell you about. I couldn't afford a plane ticket to go to Shanghai. I had nothing. So I worked because I could afford to do that, and so I did. I worked and I studied and I worked really hard, and I worked in my job and I studied in my spare time. I worked all my weekends. I studied my massage all the time. I just worked and I dedicated myself. And then this amazing Chinese doctor that did this work on my shoulder, I used to go and visit him, okay, on like a Sunday afternoon, and he used to teach me stuff. And I was just interested, okay? He didn't speak a huge amount of English, but he showed me anyway, okay? And it was just starting to kind of rebuild. And then literally what was interesting was actually by the time I qualified as a masseuse, because it took a year, interestingly, I got made redundant from my job. So useful that they gave me this redundancy. It was quite a lucrative one. I got like 4 months' pay, which was just enough to keep my head above water whilst I built up my massage business and added in the Chinese techniques. Now, I didn't say I was doing Chinese techniques. I just kind of did massage, okay? And that was enough. And that's the other interesting thing, is that sometimes when we are kind of going through changes in life, is that because of the modern age, we're always kind of thinking, it's going to be this massive thing and it's going to be this light bulb moment, this huge, great change, and then everything's going to go your way. And the truth is, it did actually go my way. It did, actually. Within 4 months, I'd rebuilt my business. I was loving my job. I got my doggy, which I loved. He's this very sweet old boy that I rescued from a dog home. And I loved him, and he was gorgeous. And I had my life back, and I could work until late, and I'd lie in the morning, and then I'd work really hard. But what was brilliant about it was that it just slowly became what it did. I had to work at it, okay? And then these lovely green shoots of life started to appear. I was still single at this point, but it didn't matter. I didn't care. I stopped worrying about blokes. I stopped worrying about having a boyfriend. I just didn't care less. I was like, you know what? I'm having a love affair right now with myself and my job. And it just gave me the opportunity to work really, really hard at what I wanted to build. And you know what was interesting? Would love to see your dog. Oh, he's very old. I'll have to find a photo of him. And what was really lovely, let me tell you about how I met Mr. Brindle, because that's a really nice story. So when I was in this bit, okay, when I was building back up my life and things was now starting to work, I was now studying reflexology. So I was a masseuse and I studied all this Chinese medicine, and I was studying reflexology, and I had a really lovely client base of people. I was working really, really hard. I worked all hours. I did Christmas Day, Boxing Day. I used to work in these hotels. They have these people fly in from New York. You have to go and do massages at like 1 a.m. I would always do them because you got like triple time. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I did everything. Okay, they loved me and I loved it. I just worked and worked and worked like I do now. And then one day, in amongst all of this, my singing voice started to come back because I was happy. And because the Chinese doctor had shifted this pain in my shoulder, and because I was enjoying what I was doing, it was really hard work, okay? There was no, and then I dossed off to Thailand. It was not Eat, Pray, Love. I didn't go off to Bali and meet, what's his face, that really sexy Spanish actor. That didn't happen. I was in the Askew Road in Ravenscourt Park, working my arse off, basically making ends meet with one thing to another. And anyway, so my singing voice had come back. So I was starting to sing again, like nothing professional or anything like that. But I was just enjoying singing because I love singing. And this lady, who is a friend of mine, wanted to basically be like a bit of an agent. She wanted me to do a bit more professional work. And I was kind of umming and ahhing with it, still thinking, oh, maybe I should, I still wanted to have that dream. And she said, I want to see you on stage. So a friend of mine's running this charity event for this charity. And they were looking for someone to do some entertainment. Would you do it? And I went, yeah, of course. And so she said, right, well, there's a meeting about it. So can you go to the meeting? And I was like, yeah, all right. And I was a bit annoyed about it, to be honest, because I was really busy working. And I thought, I really don't need to go to this meeting. This meeting's just going to be a complete waste of time. I don't need to be at a meeting. You just need to tell me where you want me to sing and what you want me to do, and I will just turn up and I'll do it. But anyway, I went to this meeting, and this meeting was in this gorgeous house in Holland Park. I was like, wow, who lives here? And I sort of wandered in, and I was having to go and work after that. So I was in like a white kind of masseuse, but actually, to be honest, I look like this. Have I actually changed my outfit in the last 20 years? I don't think I have. I'm still in a white top and leggings. Anyway, so I went into this house. I'm in a white top and leggings. I've got my couch in the back of the car. And literally, I kind of walk in and think, oh, God. And there was this really glamorous woman at the door of this house. I mean, like, really glamorous. She looked like one of those typical women that married a really, really rich guy and lived in a house like that. And she acted like it as well. And she kind of looked at me like I was a piece of dirt on her shoe. And I was not too happy about being there in the first place. Anyway, I went into this really massive living room thinking, blimey, this house is amazing. And there were these really pretentious people in there. And they were like, oh, yeah, I know this person, I know that. But they were all name dropping and they all looked ridiculous. And they were really fashionable. And I felt really uncomfortable and out of place. And the guy whose house it was, who it turned out whose charity it was, kept trying to chat me up. And I assumed he was married to this super glamorous, unbelievably beautiful woman who was no doubt an ex-model or something. And literally, he kept talking to me. And I was like, oh, God, like, fuck off. Like, you're such a perv. You're clearly married to this woman. Like, leave me alone. Sorry, I shouldn't have said fuck off on a live feed, should I? Anyway, that's what I was thinking. Anyway, he had a beautiful black Labrador, beautiful boy called Pompey. And this black Labrador kept coming up to me and kept sniffing me and kept kind of like getting my attention. And I was like, oh, this dog, he's so beautiful, because I had a black Labrador I'd rescued. And because my black Labrador was so ill when I got him from this rescue centre, he'd been really badly abused. I had to take him back every 2 weeks to get checked by the vet at the rescue centre at the RSPCA. So my mum used to go with me before she died, sadly. And then we ended up rescuing another black Labrador because she'd come in that week, and my mum and dad had her. So, and they, at this particular moment, they'd been on holiday. So I had 2 black Labs in my house. So I clearly smelt of Labradors, okay? And anyway, this dog kept coming up to me and sniffing me. He's so beautiful. And then this guy kept saying questions, and I kept sort of brushing off, thinking, you are such a pervert. Will you stop talking to me? Your wife is sat right there. This is really inappropriate. And I had a real attitude on me because I didn't want to be at this meeting. I was like, I've literally got more interesting things to do in my life, like go and treat, okay? So, sorry, I'm going into a complete tangent here, but this is basically how I met Mr. Brindle. And anyway, at the end of this ridiculously pointless meeting, at the back of this gorgeous house was this big glass panel, and Mr. Brindle was putting Pompey out at the back, outside in this kennel. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what are you doing putting your dog outside? I couldn't help myself. I was like, a black Labrador lover. And his dog had this stick in his mouth, and he was looking so sweet, going, please don't leave me out here. And I couldn't help it. And I went up to him and said, what are you doing? Why are you putting your dog outside? And literally he looked at me and he went, well, he lives in the kennel outside. I was like, what? I said, why does your dog not live inside? And he'd only just got the dog about 6 months before. And he was like, well, I don't know. That's what the breeder told me, that we had to keep him outside. I went, you're mad. I said, I've got a black Labrador. I said, he sleeps on my bed. And literally Richard looked at me and he went, oh, I'd love to meet your black Labrador. And of course I said, oh, well, yes. I said, but like, I feel a bit inappropriate because, your wife is right there. And I don't think that's really appropriate. And he said, she's not my wife. And he said, she's just organising the charity event. And I looked at him and he looked at me and there was this kind of moment. And he said, so can we go for a walk? And I was like, and then I blushed. And anyway, we went for a walk the following week and that was that. and we got engaged literally a few months later. And that was that. And let me tell you, the first night I stayed over with Mr. Brindle, I can't believe I say this on Instagram, I'm blushing. The whole rigmarole about putting Pompey outside, and we had this massive argument. It's supposed to be feeling the love, and literally we had this huge argument. I was like, I'm not staying the night with your dog outside. I said, that is just literally, this is just cruel. I said, and of course my dog was there with me. I said, well, he's staying inside, I'm not putting my dog outside. That's absolutely ridiculous. So that was that. So Pompey came in that night and he never left the house again. And that, folks, is how I met Mr. Brindle. And I had no idea, Catherine, why I've ended up talking about that. I know why I'm talking about that. I'm talking about that because I was in my truth. And the reality was, when I was living my lie, I would never have met Mr. Brindle. Okay, I'm not sure how happy Mr. Brindle is about having met me now, 20 years later, but no, we're okay. But actually, interestingly, out of that moment, Black Labradors and charity is a huge aspect of both of our marital life together, and it's something that we're very, very keen on. And it's a really, really sweet story, and it is like 101 Dalmatians, and we are completely wedded with our dogs. We absolutely dogs absolutely have to sleep in our beds. Well, they do in this house. So literally now it's ridiculous. We've got 2 Black Labradors on the bed and a Havanese, and then my daughter has a little Havanese on her bed. So it is the sweetest story. And then I did the concert and I sang, and I'm not joking, that was in September, and he took me away in October, and we were literally engaged like about a month later. It was like, no, Mr. Brindle is still not home. He's hopefully going to come home soon, or he's going to get locked down again. So I think what I wanted to explain about all of this stuff is that really what I'm hoping that these things are offering you is that I really had to go right down to the bottom of my barrel to kind of build myself from grassroots up. And that was the first kind of like moment when Chinese medicine kind of got me into kind of my slipstream and then got me where I was. And at this point, I'm now a therapist, okay? And I was a therapist when I met my husband. I remained a therapist after we got married. I remained practicing on people until literally the due date of my daughter, which was the 31st of December. I remember I did my last massage that day. I had a big tummy out here and I still did one. And then things shifted again as things move on. And that was really when the kind of the self-care aspect came into really its incarnation, when I started to discover these amazing self-care techniques. And I was very, very lucky because of being married to Mr. Brindle. I was in a position to be able to afford to go back to study this time without quite so much pressure. Because of his work, we were able to go to Japan a lot because of who he works with, and I was very lucky to go with him. So whenever we went, I would study, and I would go and I'd drag him off to some remote place and go and study some weird thing. We've had quite a few adventures in the pursuit of me wanting to find all this stuff out. We end up in the middle of nowhere and we can't speak a word of the language, or we're trying. And there we go. So that was really kind of how that happened. And really that was the kind of grassroots. And really what I'm trying to say to you guys is that if you're going through your eye of your own needle, because I think we all do, okay, then I think it's important to remember that if you go into your truth, the universe will always support you. And I'm not saying it's easy. Okay, just because that's the story about how Mr. Brindle and I met. But you know what? It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy after that. I mean, if I think back about, my life is not perfect. I don't have some kind of film star, existence. It's not like that. Basically, my mum, I had to nurse my mum. She was really, really sick with cancer. My dad had a massive heart attack and very nearly died, and we had to really take care of him. We still do. I then had fertility problems and had to go through rounds and rounds and rounds of fertility. That was really, really tough. And then I was really, really ill. And I've had to build my life up kind of like 2 or 3 times over the course of my life. But each time, okay, I go into the truth of what I believe to be true, and I learn something from it, and I learn the truth. And I think that's something that I've learned now that I'm in my second spring, is the importance of being truthful and the importance of not lying, because actually, things have gone up and down a bit sort of since then. And sometimes I haven't been the best version of myself, and I have done things I'm not proud of, and I haven't always been my authentic self. And I've learned from that as well. And that's the other thing to say, is that we do learn from our mistakes as well. I mean, I've got some really good things right in my life, and I've got some really, really horrendous things wrong. And I think it's really useful to do things wrong, because I know what it feels like when things don't work. And when sometimes you've gone down the wrong path because you didn't realise, or you didn't know, or you did know and you weren't sure, you thought you could hide it, or you thought you were doing it for the right reasons, and actually it turns out not to be very good. And all of which I've learned. All of it. And what I have learned ultimately from this entire story of my life thus far is that as long as I focus on helping other people with the good things that I've done, with the not such great things that I've done, then I feel like I'm on the right side of the line, okay? And how old were you when you met Mr. Brindle? I was 31. I think I turned 31. I was 31, like literally 2 weeks later, so I was still 30. So do I follow my instinct? Yes, I absolutely do. And actually, sometimes I find in life that instinct is a honed thing, okay? Instinct isn't this kind of just like random thing that just kind of like orbs around you and there it is for you. It's like your third eye, and it's what I say in my Qigong classes: knowledge, intention, amplification. Instinct falls within that. Your instinct can be honed and developed with knowledge and with intention and with amplification. And the one thing that I have learned, which I can probably leave you with, is to do good. And if any of you are sitting at home right now kind of thinking, gosh, I don't really know what I'm going to do with my life, the first place to start is by being the best version of you, by doing good. Okay, focus on good, because we're like a spectrum. Everybody has really amazing good, and there is a possibility for really not great, okay? And I've done not great. I'm not proud of my not great. I mean, I'm not that bad, but it's not like this. When you see me, guys, doing what I do, I'm here. I'm over here doing what I love and doing what I know to be true, and really being the best version of myself. And doing this kind of work enables me to be the best version of myself. And the one thing I would say to you guys is focus on the virtues, okay, which the Chinese masters teach us, which is love of humanity, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, trust, okay, wisdom. These are the high vibrations, okay? These are the high vibrations which basically keep you resonating around the highest virtue of your spirit and creating really valuable spiritual currency for yourself, and in turn taking your place within this kind of grid-like matrix. And I'm trying to think of an example. This is a really rubbish diagram, but let me just grab a trini pot. It's like all of us. It's like I'm like one trini pot. This is me. And if I then add myself to you, and then to you, and then to you, I've suddenly got, like, suddenly it's gone from one to all of this, okay? And if every single one of us in here works to be the best possible version of ourselves, then this starts to amplify. It gets bigger. The consciousness increases. And there's a really amazing quote, actually, which Richard told me, which he said, all it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to stand by and do nothing. Okay? It's a really good quote. A really good quote. And it's true. And this is the world that we're in right now. Okay? There is a lot of goodness going on right now. Okay? I've got more pots to do. I don't know why I've ended up with all those pots. In fairness, Trini actually did give me some, because I did a live, this is pre-COVID, last year, in her studio when I first met her, and she literally gave them to me as a thank you, and I've still got them and I still use them all, so rubbish with makeup. But it is so true, okay? Don't stand back and just let it unfold. The world has changed. The world has changed from when I started Chinese medicine, but the truth still prevails, okay? And the thing is, just trying to work out how to explain it, that we are in this really amazing moment right now. And where we were, like, as a child of the 70s, is that kind of desperate feeling of you feel, oh, there's all these huge institutions, there's nothing I can do, these great skyscraper corporations are taking over the world, it's all doom and gloom. And it kind of was, to be honest. It's not like that anymore. These institutions can't survive. If you don't give them your business, they will die. The only reason they're in existence at all is because you're buying stuff from them. Don't buy their stuff. Don't fucking buy their bollocks. Don't buy into them. Don't give it any attention. Don't look over here. If over here is not the good stuff, don't give it any attention. Send your attention over here. Focus, focus, focus wholeheartedly. over here, okay? This is what we need to do. And that is when good people can start to prevail, okay? And the great thing about what's going on now is that there are these small little brands like mine who are coming up through the trenches and going, actually, we don't stand for that anymore. Actually, I'm not saying my brand is perfect because it's not allowed to be yet. We're too small to have the clout that we want in the mines and in the production process, but we're getting there. As we get bigger and bigger, we are getting more and more clout and more oomph, and we are tightening up the ratchet in the production and in every other aspect, okay? My business now is no longer just based down in Somerset in my coach house, whereby I was employing a rather undiverse group of people because there was I only had one type of demographic to go towards. We now, because of COVID, we employ all over the world. We have a very interesting demographic in my business. It's all shifting around, and we are now in a position to start giving money to charity. There's all this stuff we can start doing, and if you give your money and your attention to brands of integrity, then you're going to make a difference. And then in turn, take your place and be the best versions of you, okay? And with that, I think I better leave you. I haven't really answered all the questions. Let me just check. Specific area I enjoy more than the rest? Yes, that's all the spiritual stuff, which I love the most. Do I use Western medicine along Chinese medicine? I do, but not if I don't really ever need Western medicine, but I have had the vaccine. I was very, very ill when I had IVF. My dad had Western medicine. My mum had an extra 10 years of life because of Western medicine. My children are only alive today because of Western medicine, because I would have died giving birth. Do I go to my doctors? No, like never. I will go and have a smear or a checkup if I have to, but that's it. And in my opinion, this is where I see medicine going in the future, that medicine will be like dentistry, where you would simply go to your doctors for preventative checkups to make sure that everything's okay. Okay, so that would be that one. Do I have any inspiring stories? Well, I think I've hopefully given you a few of those this evening. What advice for a student? For a student, then just go for it, guys. If you are thinking about changing your life, do it. Do it, but get a mentor. I didn't have a mentor. Actually, I still don't have one. I need one. I'm going to ask Trini. Because basically, it's really, 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 really hard to set up a business, as I have discovered. But it is possible, and it can be done. And if you believe in what you do so much, then the gods will be favourable. So therefore, do it and be inspired. Do it. Just don't live your life being dead. There's no point. What is it that we need so much that money brings us? I mean, really, because the things that we really need the most is ourselves, is our thoughts, is our lives, okay? First book that intrigued me, well, that was probably Between Heaven and Earth. Hardest part of the journey, I think I've explained that. I've had some pretty sucky times which were hard. How long did it take to qualify? That took years. I'd say 20 years, and I'm still going strong now. I haven't finished. That will take a whole lifetime, folks. Where did I study? I studied at Kickham in the end. I studied in the LCTA in London, but that closed down in my final year. And then I went to the College of Integrated Chinese Medicine, which is where I went. That's in Reading. And that was probably pretty much where to start for general interest. Well, to start, really, I would say start with my book and then go to my reading list and go to my bibliography. And then that would happen. What happens if it goes wrong? It won't go wrong. Janju, it won't go wrong. You'll be fine. Just message us. We'll look after you. You'll be all right. It's okay. There's literally I literally don't even know what to say to that, because I'm still guys, I don't know. I know people think Hey You's this massive great brand. Okay. Can I just tell you, we are absolutely weenie in the marketplace. Okay. We are a tiny team of extraordinary hardworking people. Punching way above our weight in the stratosphere of commerce, okay? We literally every week cannot quite believe what's going on around us, okay? We're seriously, we're tiny. What are we even doing here? But we are there. And every month, we're we don't even know if we're going to make it, okay, to the end of the month. We will, we're okay. We don't have funding. I don't have some New York banker giving me 10 million quid to fund this business. I have literally nothing. I sold everything of value to fund the business. I sold my engagement ring. I had my flat in London from when I met Richard, and I mortgaged that twice. I sold all my jewellery. I've sold every possession that I've got of any value whatsoever. I sold to fund the business. Literally. Literally. And then a very unscrupulous manager stole half the bloody money. So that was that. That was another awful low point. And yet we carried on. Okay? We carried on. And we're still here, and it's still okay. And if I look at the bank balances, I'd probably sit there thinking it's a bit better now, but this time 6 months ago, we were oh my God, seriously, I just don't know how we're going to do this. And yet you do. And I think this is the thing. It's in Shakespeare in Love when the theatre guy goes, it'll be fine. I don't know how, but it always is. And it's a great quote. Okay, anyone watch Shakespeare in Love? He says it all the time in the film, and it's so true. It's always okay. It's always okay. If you're in your truth, thank you, Catherine, goodness will always prevail. It always, 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 always does. And if negative things, so-called negative things, happen to you, they're a learning curve. Okay, I had to learn the hard way how to run a company because I was a bit airy and a bit of I'm a therapist and I don't really know about that. I just had to basically roll up my sleeve and strap on my balls and basically go to battle, okay, and just deal with it and grow up and learn the hard way because I didn't know. I hadn't gone to Harvard Business School and all this stuff. I had no idea. I still don't have much of an idea. There we go. Amanda, you always find somehow she's been there. Oh, I love it when Amanda's been on the live and hasn't told me. So Amanda is my family manager and basically looks after my entire life when I'm busy doing this. And I literally couldn't do this without her. And I have to tell you that she comes on these feeds when I'm giving dietary advice, going, yes, try keep sugar to a minimum. And she's just sat there at Sunday lunch with me whilst I'm stealing my children's mini eggs. Anyway, the point is it's always, always, always okay. Okay, Amanda has seen me so broke. She has literally had to confiscate my credit cards out my purse. And that, let me tell you, was only a year ago. She's going, Katie, you've literally got no money in your bank account. And I go, yeah, have I got any overdraft left? No, you spent all your overdrafts. And I'm like, shit. And then there's always some like catastrophe going on with the business where I've had to do something and I've got like no funds. And my dad's had to bail me out more than once. It's an annual event. Mr. Ferryman has had to help me as well many times, folks, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Because the business is always going to be okay. And here it is, we're still here, we're still standing, we're still trading, and we've now turned the corner. And thanks to you guys, we're still here doing what we do. And I can only thank you enough, because let me tell you that, like, if it weren't for you and your custom and your interest in what we're doing, we would have sunk years ago, and therefore I wouldn't be here telling you this story and inspiring you. I'd have gone, oh yeah, it didn't work. But it did work. And it does work, because I won't take no for an answer and I'm just going to do it anyway, okay? And that is probably the thing that I would like to do. What would be a bestseller here? Anyway, don't hold yourself back, guys, okay? So there we go. Exactly, there you are. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and it will all be okay. And it always, 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 always is. And you've got my back, guys. Thank you so much. Well, I've got yours too. And thanks to you, we have been through the really, really tough bits at the beginning of the business. Now we're getting copied, so we're obviously onto something. So that's another whole world of pain that we have to navigate our way through. But it wouldn't be fun if it wasn't challenging. And that's the thing with life. Don't stay in the comfort zone, guys. It's not supposed to be comfortable. Okay, it's supposed to be challenging, because we're supposed to transcend the challenges and come out the other side. And I dare say life is going to chuck some more things at me along the way. But there we go. Chinese medicine is by my side, as is Amanda, as is Catherine, as are you now. So this is all okay. Will I do some posts on fertility? I've done a load of posts on fertility, and there is a whole masterclass on it if you want to have a look. Do message us and we can give you a pointer to that. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening. I better go. I've got a call with Mark and it was about half an hour ago. Whoops. Anyway, have a lovely evening, everyone. I hope that was interesting. See you all in the morning.